Hello everybody and welcome again to the Pennsylvania and Berwind Railroad. This is episode number 15. Today we continue working on the strip mall area. This is part 2, I guess we can call it. And right away I took some of your suggestions, hopped on the download station and looked up some of the structures that you guys had recommended, including an Aldi grocery store and my personal favorite, this Blockbuster VHS DVD rental store from my childhood. It is a perfect fit on the P&B, and it just made me so happy to see that and model it again. And actually, if you take a closer look at it, it has like going out of business sale signs in the windows, which I think is just so perfect. So right off the bat, getting into this build, I wanted to get started with the parking lots. And it's something that I kind of learned from the last episode, let's say. I realized that it was better to put the parking lots down and then constrain the size and the space of the lot and where the buildings are off of that rather than the other way around. So right away, I just started putting parking lots down and then moved around my buildings and just kind of do-si-doed some things in place. And got a relatively, loose layout because I go through and adjust it as I go. Again, just going right off the bat, right into the asphalt and adding some of the details and stuff like that. And one thing that I noticed when I was copying and pasting these parking lots is that stinking yellow car. It is a dead ringer for a copy and pasted item. And I wish I never included it because it's the only color that pops in there. Everything else is like a generic color. All the other cars, just very generic. No big deal, you can copy and paste them all day long and nobody's gonna really notice that it's the same thing over and over again. But whatever, it is what it is. I went in and I deleted a few of the yellow cars just to break up the pattern. So getting into this area here, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to add a sort of an intersection across this road without actually making an intersection. So I'm trying to fake it. So I just took a little strip of the roadway and put it across the median, and I'm adding some traffic lights to just kind of give that illusion that that there is a crossing here, that there's an intersection. And I think it works, and I think I'll have to go over this in the outro. The highway that I use there, the 4-lane road, there's no traffic on it because of the way that it's made. The traffic goes like through the median. It goes up the side of it. So there's no way to actually have traffic on that road without it looking completely ridiculous. So yeah, just continuing on, moving around some parked cars, doing some of the asphalt detailing. And I just paused the recording there just for a minute because I noticed how raspy my voice is. I'm starting to come down with my fall allergies or my fall cold or something like that. And I wanted to record this voiceover before it hit me full speed. So if I sound a little bit raspy and the video pauses here and there, my voiceover pauses here and there, it's because I'm drinking some tea. Anyway, getting back into this, the other thing that I did to break up the sameness is I kept putting down long strips of the guardrails and then breaking it up where I needed to. That way there was a continuous straight line of the guardrail, and I added entrances and little details where it seemed would be a good spot to do an entrance. There's a lot more detail work that I can do here, but because it is a little ways away from the tracks, I didn't want to go way too crazy with it because you're not going to see it. And already by the end of this episode, due to I think the amount of cars or maybe the streetlights, my frame rates were just plummeting, just absolutely plummeting. I got my new graphics card, the 1080 Ti, and since installing that, I've been able to get these like absolutely insane frame rates that I've never experienced in this game before. But by the end of this episode, my frame rates were dropping down to like the 20s and the 30s for some reason. I don't know, it was really weird, and I'd quit and then I'd come back and then it'd bounce up back into like the 40s and 50s, but very strange. In this area here by the Starbucks, I wanted to add just a little bit of greenery, just to break up that asphalt gray. You know, there's just so much of it, and Starbucks are just so swanky. They have to have some kind of like shrubs or flowers or trees or something like that. So I wanted to add that, and there's also a bank right there. I think this is a key bank or an empty bank, the M&T bank, the empty bank. I can't remember which bank it is that I use there. Oh, Citibank. It might have been a Citibank. So yeah, they usually have a little bit of landscaping around. I probably could have added a little bit more as well, but Again, it's a little bit away from the tracks, so I didn't want to go too crazy and start costing polygons and whatever frames because I'm adding so many details in places that you're never going to look. But they are nice Easter eggs, like these yellow pavement markings I put in there just now. Just adds a little tiny bit if you're trying to get like another angle from far away or you're flying around just exploring. Plus, I like to do this kind of stuff. I really like going crazy with the details, but sometimes I just have to stop myself. Right here, again, I'm trying to do another intersection where you could pull out of one strip mall and go across the street over to the Best Buy or to the bank or Starbucks or whatever. And I wanted it to look cohesive and match, so what I decided to do was just drag those sidewalk medians across the road just in a straight line and then break them in half so that way it looked symmetrical. And I added similar details to both sides so that way it looked like it was made by maybe the same landowner or whatever, so it'll have some kind of consistency to it and it'll look pretty nice. So again, with the yellow striping, yellow markings, which are really, really nice details when you can use them properly. And here I am just trying to figure out how I'm gonna shape these guardrails across the median, because I didn't want to leave it open because that would kind of defeat the purpose of the guardrail. So I tried to do like a point, but it didn't render properly when you were far away, and sometimes it didn't render properly when you were close. So I ended up just connecting it, so when you're up close it looks rounded, and when you're far away it looks square. So that was a nice compromise in my opinion. It does the job and it gives the illusion without looking too awkward between the two. And by this point in the video, I actually was starting to get really burned out from placing parking lots, so I decided what I wanted to do was figure out what I'm gonna do with this highway and start doing a little bit of scenery work. Honestly, guys, like, this is a really cool build and all, but wow, like, it was really just starting to burn me out. I wanted to do something a little bit more simple and elegant and nice, so I had to move over to some scenery and start feeling like I was filling up this space a little tiny bit, because the more I looked at it, these big blank tiles and this gray space, I was like, oh my gosh, there's still so much to do here, and I don't know how I'm gonna fill up this time. And what's funny is actually this is gonna be a really long time lapse comparatively speaking to my last couple videos, because after this point I get a little bit distracted, but I don't want to get ahead of myself and spoil what I work on. It is in this area though. So yeah, just going through here, copying and pasting some of these trees, and I'm thinning these trees out because over the years of copying and pasting, they kind of got really dense. So I wanted to thin it out a little tiny bit so there's not just so many assets all over the place. So then I copied and pasted it out after that. And my technique here is to just fill up the space. It doesn't have to be neat, just some broad brush strokes, and get it all out there, and then use the move tool to spread it out and move the trees where you need it to. And then after that, then I'll bring in some of the nicer trees, use those in the foreground, and then shrubs and bushes and ground textures, and begin to just blend it all together. That way I'm not focusing so much on the little details in the front. I can get the big broad brush strokes done, and then really focus on the details, like, you know, in a coherent manner, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, not getting distracted by doing too many details when I don't need to. That's what I'm trying to say. So yeah, I'm just trying to blend this in a little bit better. I don't think I finished it off. I can't really remember. I just was starting to get really, really burned out at this point. But yeah, I'm just copying and pasting some of these trees. Like I said in my last episode, I have a little area where I have kind of like dioramas set up, and some of them are the parking lots, and then some are these shrub and tree patterns that I came up with a long time ago. And that just helps me save time by just copying that, and then I can place it, and I don't have to worry about finding all the grass assets that I use and all the shrub assets that I use. And it's got some of the nice billboard trees in there that don't look too bad. So here's where I start getting distracted. In between that last bit and this bit, there was probably a cut of a day or two, and when I came back, I was inspired to do this other area. So I had asked you guys for suggestions what I should do with the far end, the edge of the baseboard, and some of you had suggested that I do a railfan park. And I thought that was a great idea, but not in that spot. So I decided I'm gonna put a railfan park right in this little triangle wedge here, which is what we're gonna get started on right here. And I thought that would be a great place because you've got all these tracks converging, and you know, if there wasn't a park there and this was a real place, that's where I would want to be to take pictures of trains, because there's just trains all over the place. You got the passenger station there, the yard, there's just so much going on. So I was really inspired to get started on this. And I think I had to break halfway through it, and I started messing with the colors of the, what do you call it, the environmental settings. So in a few moments, the color settings might look a little bit different. I did just get a new 4K monitor, and my whole map looks so different on this monitor. And I think it's because I'm getting more true color renditions than I ever had before. And you guys had said in one of my live streams that my world looked really green, and yes, it was incredibly green. So I was trying to dial some of that out, and this new monitor was just like, holy wow, this looks totally different than I ever thought. It was like being colorblind and then suddenly being able to see color again. It was bizarre. So anyway, yeah, the color temperature might change a couple times throughout, because I was messing around with that, trying to get it right. I'm still not totally happy with it. I still see some weird colors in there, and one thing I noticed about the way that you can do your color tuning in Trainz is it doesn't really make too much sense. Like, I do photography and videography professionally, right? So I'm used to doing color grading and working with, you know, different tones and trying to dial out greens or magentas and stuff like that. So I know how to do these things, and I was just so lost in the Trainz environmental settings, and I did not even realize that the dials not only affect the color, but they affect the luminosity on each color channel. So I was trying to dial out the green by pulling the green dial down low, but really what I was doing was making it darker. So there it is, that's the color change, and it looks a little bit brighter and a little bit more magenta looking at it now in playback. But again, like I said, I'm gonna have to go and play with it a little bit. Maybe I'll like reset all of the settings and just start from scratch and see what I can do. Maybe we'll do it during a live stream or something like that, so that we can all take a look at it together, and you guys can give me your feedback, because I'm still not convinced that what I see is the same thing that you guys see. So I don't know, maybe we'll take a look at it together at some point. So I was trying not to go too crazy with the grass and tree details, but I wanted to add enough so that it felt like a comfortable park. So I didn't want to add so much that I was obscuring the view of the tracks. I really wanted to make this feel like this was a park that had, it was intended for rail fans. This is a rail fan park. But I also added this pavilion area for picnicking. I think it actually says on the side like farmer's market or something like that. So that might be something really cool. Yeah, I see it right there, farmer's market. That might be something really cool to add later on if there's any assets out there, like some kind of a farmer's market event. But for now, I just added some picnic tables and stuff like that. It felt like a park that I had been to when I was young. So I liked that, and I just spread them out here and there a little bit. And just a few details. I was going to add some trash cans in too, but I couldn't find, well, not that I couldn't find any, I didn't look on the download station, but I just didn't have any in the game, and I just didn't have time to look on the download station. But a couple of trash cans would probably be a nice detail. And I wanted to add some people too, but I couldn't find any good people either, which is another problem with this game. But I think I put one person down towards the end of this part. And let's see, we're coming up to, in a moment, we move on to another thing. And what's kind of funny is that I was gonna end the episode at this point, and I just got into this rhythm of recording this past Saturday morning, and I was just like, I got in the zone. Like, there was just no stopping me. I was like, you know what? Let me just keep going with this time lapse, with this recording. I'll squeeze it in, and we'll make a lot of progress, but not really at the same time. But yeah, we're gonna move on to something a little bit different in just a moment. But yeah, I was in the zone, and there was just no stopping me. But it was a nice day. Saturday was a nice day, so I ended up going out for a walk after a little bit. Went on like a 5 or 6 mile walk around my neighborhood, which was really nice. But yeah, anyway, so let's see, what are we doing here? We're bringing in some more of the copied and pasted tree assets and shrub assets. I'm not sure how I'm going to blend this in with whatever is going to go adjacent to this. I was thinking of doing a residential area, and it's just one of those things that I'm really worried about doing because it's going to be really repetitive and it's just a background item, and I'm going to have to come up with a way that I can build something that's copy and pastable, and I can just stamp out like a real, I don't know, something that looks good in the background, but not too like rubber stamped out like consistently. So now I decided that I was going to work on this main strip, this main road, because I had an idea for it. And I totally screw up this intersection. I ended up just going right across it because I didn't feel like messing around with the stupid whatever, joining it this way and that way so the cars turn. It's not that important for me at this point. So I wanted to get on to detailing, and actually halfway through what I'm about to build, I got kind of stuck, and then I stopped, and then I got unstuck, and then got really into it again. But then I had to stop again, if that makes sense. But yeah, so this strip I kind of envisioned as the older version of what we just built on the other side, the original shopping strip. So I wanted some old brick businesses, a lot of old storefronts, maybe some areas that were converted into apartments. I was just kind of had this vision of some areas in Brooklyn that I remember walking through where you'd kind of come around a corner in a residential area, and then suddenly there was just like this big old shopping district with old bodegas and general stores and a couple of brownstone apartment houses and stuff like that. So I wanted to get that feel through here. And then just across the railroad tracks is like the big shopping district, the new one. So I wanted to get that same kind of feeling here. And I'm gonna have to come back and do some more detail work because I did run out of time actually finishing this. But I did get some really cool details done in here. But that is about all I have to say at the moment. So I'm gonna let the time lapse run out, and I'll catch up with you guys in live mode in just a moment. Alright dudes, well I hope you enjoyed the remainder of that time lapse. I really don't have much else that I want to talk about during this episode, so in lieu of an outro, I'm just going to leave you guys with some nice cinematics here from the Railfan Park. I'm also trying to save my voice a little bit because tomorrow, for me, is my 1-year live stream. For you, it'll be yesterday, once this video posts. So if you missed it yesterday, make sure to check my videos. I will be posting it for playback. Next episode, we should be moving on to something else. I'm aiming to finish off Phase 1 of the P&B very soon, and then we're going to move on to another big project. But in the next episode, we're going to move on to something else, get this wrapped up, and get moving on. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it today. Thank you for all the love and support, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.